Hello and welcome everyone to today's session where we will continue to be reviewing the tenses. Let me share my screen and take you through the slides. So today we're going to look at past continuous, I was doing, past perfect, I had done, and past perfect continuous, I had been doing. Let's have a quick look at formulation of these three tenses. Past continuous is formulated with the auxiliary verb be in the past tense, of course. With the pronouns I, you, we, and they, it's were and went. And with the pronouns he, she, and it, was and wasn't. And then we add the present participle of the main verb, doing, to the construction. For past perfect, we need the auxiliary verb have in the past, obviously, so had or hadn't. And now we add the past participle of the main verb done. And the formulation is the same for all pronouns. For past perfect continuous, again, the formulation is the same for all pronouns, I, you, we, they, he, she, it. But now we have two auxiliary verbs, both have in the past, had and hadn't, and also be, this time in its participle form, been, and then we add the present participle, had, hadn't, been doing. Just a very brief note on questions. Don't forget to always start your questions with the auxiliary verb. So were or weren't you doing it? How had she done it? How long had they been doing that? Okay. So that's all for formulation, nice and easy. Let's look at concepts now, starting with a quick reminder of the concept of the past simple tense. As you will remember from previous lessons, the past simple tense refers to completed actions with a specific past time reference. For example, at 7:30 this morning, my sister called me. I chatted with her and ate my breakfast at the same time. I left home at 8:15. So singular, separated actions completed at a specified time in the past, right? That's past simple. Now, looking at past continuous refers to an action in progress at a precise moment in the past. Now, this precise moment can be marked either by a shorter action or by a time. Looking at an example of this being marked by a shorter action, if we put two of the things we saw in our past simple examples together, if we bring two actions together, we need one in the past continuous, the longer one in the past continuous, and the shorter one in the past simple. For example, this morning, when or while or as I was having breakfast, my sister called. Or this morning, when my sister called, I was having breakfast. So whichever way you combine these two actions with each other, the long one is in the past continuous and the short one in the past simple. Now, as I said, a short action can mark this point, or the point can be actually marked by a precise time. For example, at 7:45 this morning, so a very precise moment, I was having breakfast and chatting to my sister. You can repeat the auxiliary or drop it. So you can say I was having breakfast and chatting to my sister. Okay. Now, one little note about the past continuous. If you have two long actions that are happening at the same time, we usually use the time expression while instead of when or as. While is a better conjunction here. And these two actions are both expressed in the same tense. You can choose either past continuous, which is more common, or past simple. So, for example, my sister was telling me about her trip while I was eating breakfast. They are happening at the same time and they're both long actions. But grammatically, it's also correct to put them both in the simple form. My sister told me about her trip while I ate breakfast. But as I said, the continuous form is more common with while. So that's all about past continuous. Let's move on to past perfect. What is the concept? The past perfect describes a completed action before a precise moment in the past. And again, this precise moment that we mark in the past can be another action or a specific time. So example of another action is, for example, this person left home at 8:15 a.m. This is marking that point for us. And then we can combine the actions by saying when or before or by the time I left home this morning, and then we go back. I had already had breakfast and had chatted to my sister. Whichever way you combine these two, again, the earlier actions are in the past perfect, and the later action, the one that marks the point in the past, is in the past simple. So you can also say, this morning I left home after I had had breakfast and had chatted to my sister. So of course, as we saw with past continuous, this point in the past, this precise moment in the past, can also be marked by an actual time. But this time it's by 8:15 this morning. By means before. So before 8:15 this morning, by 8:15 this morning, I had already had breakfast and had chatted to my sister. So that's the concept of the past perfect. But a few important notes here. The first one is, if two actions happen almost simultaneously in the past, they are expressed in past simple with time expressions like as soon as and the moment. For example, let's say the phone rings and you answer it immediately, almost simultaneously. Then we use two past simple tenses. For example, I answered the phone as soon as, or the moment it rang. That was the first note. The second note, important to know this and bear it in mind, is it's really difficult to hear the past perfect tense in spoken English because had is often contracted to apostrophe D. So we don't often say or hear after I had chatted to my sister, I left home. We hear after I'd chatted to my sister, I left home. So it's really a very small sound and difficult to catch. And it's particularly hard to hear this d if the main verb is a regular verb starting with the sounds t or d. For example, they'd toured. No one will say they'd toured. The two sounds merge. It's they toured. They toured. They toured Australia before they went to New Zealand. Now, of course, with irregular verbs, the past participle that comes after the apostrophe D gives it away, gives us a clue. For example, she'd driven. I really can't say she'd driven. I would say she'd driven, but because I'm saying driven, not drove, we know it's the past perfect, not the past simple. So she'd driven 100 miles before it started to snow. So that's an important thing to remember, because I often get the question, but I don't hear the past perfect tense used that much. I don't think people use it. They do, but you can't hear it. So, and the final note, with the prepositions after and before, when you connect two actions in the past together with these prepositions, if the subject of both actions are the same, you can also use the gerund form of the verb instead of past simple or past perfect. And this allows you to avoid the repetition of the subject. So, for example, the sentence, after I'd chatted to my sister, I left home. You can also say, after having chatted to my sister, I left home. Now we only repeat I once. Or they'd toured Australia before they went to New Zealand. They'd toured Australia before going to New Zealand. So that's one way of avoiding two separate clauses. Right, that brings us to the last tense, past perfect continuous. And now we have an action in progress for a certain length of time, period of time, before a precise moment in the past. And again, this moment can be marked by another action, like by the time I finished breakfast, I had been chatting to my sister for half an hour. We have added the length of time, the period of time. That's why we have switched from past perfect simple to past perfect continuous. Or we can use a precise moment, by, meaning before. By 8 a.m. this morning, again, I had been chatting to my sister for half an hour. So that's the difference between past perfect continuous, it gives us also the length of time, and past perfect simple. Having said that, in spoken English, very often this past perfect continuous is avoided a lot of times and just replaced by the simple form. That's native speakers can get lazy in that sense. So instead of saying by the time I finished breakfast, I had been chatting to my sister for half an hour, you may hear by the time I finished breakfast, I chatted to my sister for half an hour. So I would recommend that you stick to the correct verb tense, but if you hear that, then don't be surprised. Right, that's the end of this session, reviewing all the remaining past tenses, past continuous, past perfect, and past perfect continuous. I hope it's been a good and helpful review. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. For more on this topic, click here. Remember to also check out my complete online course and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching and happy studies!